All right, the next song we're going to do is Miss Mary Mack. Now, with this song is call and response. So we're going to divide the orchestra in two parts. We'll have the viola and the cello be the response, and we could have the violins and the bass be the call, okay? But we're going to do it in unison first. So we're going to all start with the response first. You're going to notice something. This is the, we've got eighth notes here. And before we, the call actually has the quarter notes, and the response actually has a lot more of the eighth notes. So when we look at the quarter note right here, we count a quarter note with a number and the syllable, and the reason why we count a quarter note like that, a number and a syllable, is because the number represents 1/8 note, and the and represents another eighth note. And of course, we know that the quarter note is one count, and each of these eighth notes are half of a count. So if we add a half and a half, we've got one count. So that is why we say one and. Every time you see a quarter note, that is why we say one and, or two and, or three and, or four and, is because the one represents 1/8 note and the and represents another eighth note. Now, eighth notes are always in a hurry to try to cram two sounds into one beat. So when you see the eighth note, your foot will keep the steady beat. So why don't we try this? Why don't we all stand up right by our chairs? And I want everyone to tap their foot one time and say one and. Ready, go. One and. Try it again. One and. Now, what did you just do? You just crammed two eighth notes, one and. You crammed two sounds, two eighth notes, into one beat. The quarter note is our beat note. So like in the time signature here, Miss Mary Mack, the time signature is 2/4. And I believe this is the first song in Americana Strings that actually has 2/4 in it. So this is going to be two beats in a measure, and this here is the quarter note getting the beat. Okay, so let's go ahead. Whenever you tap your foot, that's the beat. So let's go ahead and tap our foot and say one and. One and. Do it again. One and. Now every measure will go one and, two and. Try that with me. One and, two and. One and, two and. Great. Okay, so we were cramming two sounds into one beat. Okay, now I want us to keep that steady beat going like this. One and, two and, three and. Now I want you to clap the eighth notes in your hands while your foot is keeping the beat. Clap the eighth notes in your hands and say one and two and one and two and. Try it with me. Ready, go. One and two and one and two and one and two and one and two and one and two. Good. All right. So I know that's kind of like one of these deals, but you did very well. So your foot is tapping the beat, and you are cramming two sounds for every time you tap the beat. Okay, you could sit down, and let's look at the response. Miss Mary Mack response. All right, and we're going to play G, 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 bow lift. Now look at the last set of G's in the response. There's no bow lift. As a matter of fact, look at that last measure in the response. How many beats are in the last measure of the response? There's only one beat in that measure. But wait a minute, Mr. L, you just said there's supposed to be two beats in a measure. What's the deal? That last measure only has one beat. It's an incomplete measure. where do you think the missing beat will be? Yes, Jessica?
The top of the call.
It's the very top of the call. And actually, the top of the call section, the missing beat, is a pickup note, and that's called an anacrusis. That's a big college term. You guys are way ahead because I learned that when I went to college. So you're way ahead of where I was. It's an anacrusis, and we're going to start with an up bow. So the very last set of G's, you're not going to do a bow lift. You're going to go right up bow it back to the call. So let's go ahead, let's get our instruments, and let's try playing our eighth notes with our instruments. And then make sure we do a bow lift after each group, okay? And of course, we are putting, everyone's pressing 3 fingers on the D string to make the G. And the cellos, you're going to be pressing 4 fingers. And the bass is super duper lucky. She's just going to play an open G. Okay, here we go. Let's go. Ready, playing position. Let's try the eighth notes. Ready, 1, 2, ready and go. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. Bow lift and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. Bow lift. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. Bow lifted. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. Miss Mary Mack, rest, Mack, rest, Mack, all dressed in black, rest. We silver, all down her back. Excellent. Good job. Okay, so let's divide let's have the viola and the cellos. Let's have you do 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. And then you're going to end, you're going to have to jump all the way back to the call to finish at the end of that. Okay? Now you are just going to play it normal. You're going to start at the top and end at the bottom. Simple for you guys, all right? Are you all ready to play this? All right, now let's listen to how fast the metronome is going to go. Just listen to it once. G, 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 G. G, G, G. Miss Mary Mack. All right, here we go. Are you ready? We have the metronome ready, playing position. We'll start with, we're actually going to divide. We're going to start right together. So you're going to start at the call. You're going to start at the response. And then we'll switch parts. Okay, here we go.